I guess, can I give you like a little introduction and then maybe you can pick maybe what you want me to talk about?
Absolutely.
Sure.
Okay, well, you can just call me Gray. I guess I've lived through some pretty intense things. So for 10 years, I worked inside the oldest prison in my state. It used to be an asylum, like a working asylum farm.
Hmm.
Really, really old. I've survived some pretty bad loss and trauma, and I feel like I'm stepping into like a deeper spiritual path. Um, I'm gonna go on an ayahuasca retreat next weekend, so I guess I'm just really nervous about that. I don't know. What kind of
I
story
mean,
do you want me
okay,
to
well,
tell you?
I'm already interested in the oldest prison thing. I got something to say about all these things, but
Okay.
let's start with the oldest prison. Tell us what that is, what that's about.
Well, it was built in the mid 1800s. They converted it into a prison, like a working modern prison in the 80s, actually, the year I was born. Um, so there's some of it is newer, like the housing units and stuff are newer, modern buildings. But there's buildings that are really, really old that, of course, go from the mid 1800s into like the early 1900s. I've spent a lot of time, of course, everywhere in the prison during the 10 years that I worked there. I have some pretty cool stories about that.
Let's hear it.
Okay. Um, well, I have my own story. The training building, which is where we kind of we had like uh, monthly trainings and yearly trainings. They would all stuff us in this older building. It was 2 stories, and I would say it was probably early 1900s. I went up to the bathroom. I didn't like to use the bigger public bathroom, and so I would go upstairs to the private one where nobody was, right? And went up there and went to the back bathroom, and it's real quiet and down the hallways, and I hear a door slam, and I'm like, oh, okay. And it was very, very loud and aggressive. And I kind of went out and looked. And, in this situation, I have to look. It's my job because if someone's up there who shouldn't be up there, right, I have to tell someone. So I go out there and I look through the entire hallway, all the rooms, and nothing. There was nothing. I had another instance where a coworker had his name whispered in his ear. I can tell you that one. Just a lot of really cool stuff. I mean, it was a place of like what I would describe as really bad energy. Like when you drove into the property, it was like instant you didn't want to be there, and that went farther than just like it was work and it sucks, right? But
Hmm.
um, I mean, there was just a heaviness about this place.
Did people tell you any like particular stories that happened throughout the history there that maybe some people believe like this is happening because of so and so?
Like a personal story or like a specific ghost, I would say no.
Hmm.
The inmates, also would talk about it being haunted, though. Part of my job was putting in like work orders for broken stuff. And a lot of times in October, they would send me, toilet is haunted, and that would just be my work order, and I would just go ahead and put it in.
Say toilet
Uh,
was haunted.
yeah. Yeah,
We've all
a lot of
experienced
the
that.
guys.
Yeah. Brandon just did the shotgun. Yeah.
They had a sense of humor about it, but it was just generally known amongst staff and both offenders that it was creepy there, and there's definitely energy, whether it be from the older people, like the people that were in the asylum, or whether it be from the guys that are there now. Like obviously, that's a place where nobody back then or now wants to be. So all that negativity just in one place, right? You feel it, you feel
Yeah.
it.
Yeah. Can't imagine. Well, that's wild. So let's talk about this ayahuasca trip.
Yeah.
I'm gonna say this from a place of deep care that I have an issue with it with ayahuasca and going down that path. And I do worry for people who do it. And I do want you, I have to say this, to just maybe rethink it. Uh, because I've heard some things that are not the greatest. Now, tell me why you think it's a good idea.
Well, I that would entail me having a trauma dump a little bit, and I don't want to do
You don't have
that
to do
too
that.
much, so I'll keep it just short, okay? Um, 7 years ago, my best friend of 15 years, she just dropped dead.
Mm,
She had a heart attack and died instantly.
mm,
4 years later, and I mean that was without me getting into it, almost impossible to survive on its own.
mm,
And then her son, I raised him, babysat him, took him to school, helped him with homework, made his dinner since 4 years old. And he was almost 21. And he took his life in the same grief
mm.
of his mother that I felt.
Ugh.
So, in the sense that I have been very deeply wounded by not just that, some actually really insane things have happened to me. Even before that, I probably needed a little help. But that really pushed me down a road of facing my own death for probably the last 6 years. And I don't think there's anything scary enough on ayahuasca that I'm going to see that I haven't already seen in real life. Like, I'm not scared. And I just feel very open. I'm highly aware that it could go wrong. Um, but I'm also highly aware that it could go right.
Yeah, no, I hear that. I've heard both sides of the story. I guess the things I do worry about when it comes to this is the stories where people do it and it does the opposite of trying to heal someone, you know?
Yeah, yeah. So, I'm an anxious, nervous person. I don't know if you could tell. Um, I tend to research things very heavily. I started thinking of ayahuasca about 2 years ago. I am diagnosed with compounded PTSD, among some other unfortunate things.
Mm.
Um, and I've looked at both sides, the sides where people were not happy with the things that happened to them. And I've looked at sides where people were significantly changed. Um, I guess I would be stupid if I wasn't scared, right? Um,
Yeah,
but
I'm not, I haven't done that, but I'm also not one to talk because I have a long history. It's been a long time, very long time, but I used to do lots of different things. And, I wish I hadn't done those for various reasons. There's probably some little hole in my brain from it all. But I did experiment with a lot of stuff through high school and college, and I wish I didn't. But is the kind of thing you're doing this one of those like controlled? You're going to a place and there's someone walking you through this situation.
yes, it is a retreat. I'm not going to divulge any information on it.
Oh
I
yeah,
don't
no,
think that I'm supposed to.
yeah,
They say that they're legal. Um, I also worked in the courts for quite a while, so I'm questioning that
That's why a lot
just
of
on
these
my own.
places are in like South America and stuff like that too. Like, are you leaving the country?
I am not leaving the country. I'm
Okay.
only going about 8 hours away from home by flight. So, my best friend's also going with me. He is not going to do it.
hmm
He is extremely, for lack of a better word, protective. Uh, I told him, you're spending like, $1,500 just to babysit me for a weekend, and he's like, "That's fine. I can't let you go alone." So
Well, that's
there
a
are
good friend.
shamans. It's a
Yep.
controlled environment. It's a retreat that you pay money to go to. So, I don't, I don't know if it's legal. I don't know. But
And this is what you were saying is part of your spiritual journey, or is this you have a spiritual journey happening that's parallel to this?
I would say parallel is a good description. I have done a lot of what I think is fair to say is shadow work, so taking each of these horrific, ugly things that I don't like about myself, that I don't like that happened in my life, that are sad, that are horrific, obviously, and laying them all out and being like, okay, what can I do about this one, this one, this one, and this one? And I'm just going through each one, and I have to like look at each thing, even if I don't want to, even if it sucks, if it hurts, if it's ugly. But I have to do that to heal, and I face my own death. I've I've come to the point where I'm either going to live through this or it's going to kill me. And I'm not going to give up. I'm not going to give up. So I'm going to do what I got to do.
Well, you definitely, we want you to live through this. And dealing with traumas, I mean, we're all doing it in our own way. And we all have our various experiences with trauma. And it's a very hard thing to deal with. And so I understand wanting to go out there and do it. But something, I don't know, the ayahuasca stuff, I don't know, Brandon, have you ever done anything like that? Or would you say
I
if you
haven't.
did?
I mean, I've heard lots about it. It's nothing I've ever wanted to actually go do. I haven't made it to that point, but I've been to the brink of my own death and back several times. I've lost 4 or 5 very close friends to me in the last 4 or 5 years. I lost my grandmother as well, on top of another couple of people. My dog of 16 years, all kind of happened in the flurry of about 4 years. And I know that how real that pain is, and wanting to find ways to just not live with it, even if it's for about 5 or 10 minutes, or to just find a way to come to terms with it. I say, like, if you feel like it's a thing that's going to help, go for it. Just be careful. It's one of those things where stuff like this can either work real great for you or induce more psychological stress and trauma than you had before you got there. So it is kind of like rolling the dice, in my opinion. But your confidence and whatever on what you can handle as far as like hallucinogens and shit like that goes, I mean, it's really
Yeah, because I've also heard a lot of interviews. I'm interested in vets that deal with PTSD, having grown up outside of a military base, having been raised by like young soldiers when I was a kid, basically, because we were right there, and I would play football with them, and then they were only 4 years older than me. And then they'd go off to war, and I was just like at home. And a lot of them came back in, not great shape. And so I've always been interested in how they're dealing with it, what they're doing. So there's all these new articles, and there's podcasts about working with PTSD and vets through hallucinogenics. I think mostly mushrooms, and they say that can be a big help. I don't know. I'm not one to advocate for it anymore, but it's also hard to say to people. If they think there's something fixing them, then try it. But the ayahuasca stuff seems like it's another level, and like the videos I've seen are just they're wild. But at least you have a good enough friend to go with you, and make sure you're safe.
Yes, yes. And I will admit, man, I mean, I don't disagree with you at all. I'm definitely rolling some dice here. I'm taking a risk. I would say if it wasn't kind of like the last option, right? Like that I felt in my mind. And it's not to escape, right? Because I've had to sit with this pain very sober for a very long time. I don't know if you're familiar. There was probably a Rogan podcast about it, and that's what I'm thinking of. But Ibogaine, they had a very successful, what do you call, like a test with PTSD veterans that had significant PTSD, and after about a week on Ibogaine, they all said that they like 89% or 95% said they felt significant change in their life, like it was gone.
Right.
So there are some actual healing properties to it. Like I do know that it can actually heal. I'm sorry, actually heal parts in your brain. But you're right, it is a risk. I'm trying not to be overly confident, like, oh, I worked in prison, my best friend dropped dead in front of me, and my kid's dead. I can take on anything, right? So no, I very much am aware of that. But I'm trying to be responsible about it, and maybe it's dumb, right? Like I see a lot of the chat saying that ayahuasca's demons, but I'm gonna pray to God too before I go and do this. So maybe it's wild to mix both things, but I'm also asking God for help with my healing too.
I would certainly continue praying. And I'm seeing the chat kind of conflicted. The ones I've seen are, yeah, there's people saying it's demons. And I think that is a tricky thing with a lot of the hallucinogenics. And I also see people saying certain hallucinogenics have helped them, have helped with depression. Someone asked, and this is an interesting question from Stacy. What are you expecting to find? Are you do you have a goal in mind after this?
Just peace, man. I do hope that I have some understanding. of what I went through. Obviously, I have no idea what I'm going to see or experience. And I guess even if it's horrific, I've lived through worse, right? And I can stop thinking about it. But at this point, it feels like I'm being called to go. So I'm just gonna go, man. I'm just gonna go.
Have you ever read or heard the writer Joan Didion?
No, I'm not familiar. No, I'm
She wrote a
sorry.
book called The Year of Magical Thinking, and it's about her husband like dying, and it was just brutal. I'm trying to think how the timeline works, because I remember if she finished a book and then her daughter died, or if her daughter died while writing the book. But she did experience two major horrible deaths, and she talks about what grief does to the brain, and it's one of the most compelling books I've read about grief. It came out around the time I lost a lot of people in a very short amount of time. It was way after I was doing anything. I was completely sober then, and I didn't know what to do with all that. And this is before I was a believer in Christ, and I was just like totally in the oblivion. And that book became a bit of an anchor. But I will say, for those who are in grief and trying to figure it out, it's it's kind of like exposure therapy. So it can be a lot. Because my wife, we were not married yet. We were just dating at that point. But she'd also lost some people at the same time. It was a very strange season for us, and it was a little too much for her. I'm the one who likes to really confront the darkness, and I will lean into it because I think exposure therapy works for me. Not really exposure therapy, but just like diving into this and figuring it out. But I don't know.
It
Maybe
does
look
for
up.
me too, man.
Maybe
Yeah.
look up that book, The Year of Magical Thinking. It's been a while since I read it, so I wonder how I would feel about it today, because it's been probably over 10 years, and I've changed a lot in 10 years. But I remember at the time, it was pretty eye-opening, and it was nice to. She's a great writer, and she did a lot of really interesting stuff in the 60s, and kind of took the temperature of how crazy and paranoid America was in the 60s and 70s. Wrote about music and culture and crime, crazy stuff. But that book is really something else. So maybe check it out.
Yeah, I'm gonna put it on the list. I will definitely do that. Thank you for the recommendation. I
Yeah.
appreciate it. And I just wanna, be human to human with you and tell you how sorry I am that you understand the grief I'm talking about. And anybody in chat too who understands this grief, I'm so sorry.
Thank you for that. And we're sorry that you're dealing with that too. And I'm praying for you. And please do call us back and keep us posted.
I will. Thank you for this time, and I'll call you back when I get back, right? When
All
I get
right.
back from the other side.
All right. All right. We'll be praying for you. Thank
Thank
you.
you so much.
Have a
Take
good
care of
night.
yourself.